And you know what I really am happy about? Because I've been saying it for a long time. 46% with the Hispanics. 46%. Number one with Hispanics.
Number one, you heard it. Donald Trump was probably the only one not surprised that he did well with Latinos. After all, he's been predicting it almost since day one of his campaign. But how do Latinos on a national level feel about the Donald? Well, not so favorably, according to a new Washington Post and Univision poll. It reports 8 out of 10 Hispanics view Trump unfavorably. That includes 7 out of 10 who have a very unfavorable impression of him. The poll also finds that Trump fares worse than any of his rivals among Hispanics in a hypothetical matchup against Hillary Clinton.
Now let's go in depth on this. We welcome in our guest today, political and economic analyst Raul Mas, also the CEO of Gladius Consulting, and Javier Manjarres, managing editor of the SharkTank.com. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, first off, you guys both live in Florida, and I read today that more than 250,000 Republicans may have already cast their absentee ballots by mail. Have either of you voted?
I have not.
No, I haven't.
All right, good. I just want to make sure we're
Actually, no, I voted twice already.
What is it, Chicago?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this. We mentioned this earlier. I want to bring it back up again. The Daily Beast, Ruben Navarrete, explains how Trump won the GOP's Latino vote in Nevada. Quote, "They want better lives for themselves and for their children. They want success. They don't hate Trump. They want to be Trump." He also says Latinos are wary of immigrants who abuse the system, and they're fed up with these so-called dreamers. They may not agree with Trump's solution, but they don't hold it against him for starting the discussion. Raul, do you buy this argument from Navarrete?
Look, I think Ruben touched on something which I think is very accurate. It's the fact that Latinos in America, we are not monolithic. I mean, there is a wide divergence of nationalities, a wide divergence of when we arrived in the United States, how we arrived in the United States, and we're very different. I mean, Cuban Americans are very different than Mexican Americans, and newly arrived Mexican Americans are very different from, Mexican Americans who were here, long before Texas became a state. So, you really can't lump us all into one group. But the one thing he did touch upon is keep in mind that there really aren't a lot of Latino Republicans. Okay. I mean, that is a given. I mean, the vast majority of the Latino population is in fact registered as Democrats. And chances are they will vote for Hillary Clinton. But I think the point that he made that, we are not monolithic is absolutely correct. And economic priorities are important to us. And those of us who've been here for a while, who arrived legally, are not entirely turned off by some of Trump's comments. Javier,
we talked about this a lot. Your heritage is Colombian. Cubans have the wet foot, dry foot policy. Right. And there's this, I don't know if resentment is the right word, but Cuban Americans, all they have to do is get here on U.S. soil, where other countries they have to go through all the hoops of the immigration system. Could Ted Cruz's and Marco Rubio's Cuban heritage actually work against them with some of these Latino voters?
No, I don't think so. I'm sure their message is going to transcend, like Donald Trump's message transcends across all across the political spectrum. I don't think it will. As far as Donald Trump, look, his message works. His message, like I said, transcends across the whole political realm. And Hispanics, whether you're Hispanic, African American, Asian, or wherever you come from, it makes sense to you. Why do they think they come here? It's inextricably tied, immigration with economic prosperity, and that's why they even come here. That's why it makes sense to them, regardless of how the media tries to paint Donald Trump or any other Republican as being racist or whatever you may.
One of the things that you get when you listen to Donald Trump, especially when he's holding one of those victory rallies like he did in Nevada, is the word we. He uses the word we a lot. We're going to do this. We're going to make our country better. It's we, it's us. It's that message. Is that part of his secret of success thus far?
Well, he's including the audience, which is smart. I mean, I advise people to do the same thing. Include the audience, bring them in. Hey, tell them that this is your fight, it's our fight, not just one specific person's fight. And it makes sense. And he's smart. I mean, look, he speaks how he speaks, and some people get offended. Well, actually, a lot of people get offended, but it doesn't make a difference. His message works. That's why no matter what he says, you would think they're big gaps, but they're not. They work. And look at him in the polls. 46% of the vote in Nevada, and the majority of the Hispanic vote. That speaks volumes.
Raul, we mentioned. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, one thing that Ruben mentioned in his article, I think is absolutely spot on. I mean, by and large, the vast majority of Latinos, we are all aspirational. I mean, we We are here because we want a better lives for our children, for our grandchildren, et cetera, et cetera. Now, mind you, at the same time, we understand that you cannot have uncontrolled borders. This country has a right to control and secure its borders to make sure that, the wrong people don't come across. And quite frankly, a lot of wrong people have been coming across, including in my own ethnic group, the Cuban Americans,
right,
who've been taking advantage of that wet foot, dry foot policy, not because they're coming as political refugees, but because they're coming, for economic reasons. So, there's abuse. We understand it, those of us who've been here for a while. And, we're not particularly turned off by, Trump's desire to sort of have control over our national borders.
Well, we talked about the GOP primary. Let's look ahead, hypothetical, if Donald Trump does go on to become the nominee and we look at the general election. I've seen estimates all over the board from 3 million up to 13 million new registered Latino voters for 2016. Javier, is there anything that Donald Trump could do to win over those voters?
Well, I think he just stay on message. I mean, his message is working with them. Look, he's, like you said, he's not going to win over the Hispanic. That's never going to happen. Even when George W. Bush was president, he won 40-some-odd% of the Hispanic. He's not going to win over. That's a pipe dream that Republicans seem to have, that some Republicans seem to think that they're going to win over the Hispanic vote one day, because you can't compete with government cheese, with free government tortillas. You just can't. So, again, what can Donald Trump do? Just stick the message and hope to mitigate the damage that Democrats are going to do when they start passing out the free tortillas and enchiladas.
Well, we're wrapping up, Raul. I want to give you the last 30 seconds for your take.
One last thing, to which I would simply add that Univision and Telemundo are firmly in the pocket of the Democratic Party, and they are making an all-out concerted effort to register every Latino that they can, for this coming election, and to get them to vote Democratic. So they have an enormous media machine in the form of Univision and Telemundo pulling for the Democratic Party, whether it's Hillary, Bernie, or whoever else may come along.
Well, I want to add to Raul, that the owners of Univision already have donated to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how these candidates deal with that. The fact that it's going to be simulcast in Spanish tonight in the debate. At least they'll have an opportunity to get their voices out there. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us. Raul Mas, Javier Manjarres. We'll see you both back real soon.
Thank you.
Coming up next on Newsmax Now, a Washington Post editorial this week called this the moment of truth, as in now is the time to stop Donald Trump or the whole world is going to fall apart. Coming up during our roundtable, the next phase of the GOP's concerted effort to stop their frontrunner. Also, stick around for today's edition of Headlines and Punchlines.
This is pretty big. Yesterday, President Obama announced his plans to close the prison at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Not to be outdone, Donald Trump announced that he wants to open a chain of Guantanamo Bays.